Well, good evening, everyone in Reading 370. It's Dr. Slay again, and I want to talk to you a little bit about an activity. It is actually one of my favorite activities. I've done this many, many years with students and adults, um, and I'll be showing you some samples of this. It's called the Where I'm From poem, and it was actually created by George Ella Lyon. George Ella Lyon is a woman. So let's get started so that you can see what this is all about. I hope you are all going to have a lot of fun with this. Let me go ahead and get it in slide share mode. And here we go. So we know that writing together and getting to know your students is the beginning of building community. So why is it important to build community? I think we've talked about this before, but I just like to reiterate, writing is a personal act. It's something that's hard for a lot of people, and it's something that comes from our heart, especially when you're writing about yourself. So when we share our writing, we need to know that there is trust within the group. And the more that we know about others, the better we are able to help each other. So this is a good way to get started with that. Let's see if I can get this to advance. So how do we learn about our students? Well, children are experts of their own memories. Got to trust them. They know their lives. They know themselves. We need to facilitate ways to help our students learn about each other, and our classrooms bring many cultures together. We know that. We are in the day and age of multicultural classrooms. So I'm going to ask you to get started by going to the D2L discussion board. You'll find it in our Unit 4 under the tasks and assignments. I'll show that to you in a minute. You can also just pull out a piece of paper and I want you to write for about 10 minutes. So to get started, you do this with kids, you do this, and I'm going to ask you to do this because I want you to be a writer just as I would ask you to do with your students. So I want you to brainstorm a list of memories where you grew up, people who shared these moments with you, who was in your life growing up, special scenes, um, images of what you remember where you grew up, special moments, the smells of growing up, the tastes that you remember, the sounds that you heard, the phrases that you heard, the ideas that shaped you. So take a minute to just write about those things. Um, and then we would move into something that we would call a group share. Now, I want you to recognize that this is, of course, an online class, so grouping's challenging, which is why I've asked you to sign up for a group because that's you're going to be your working group. Okay. You're going to share your lists with each other. Now, I propose that you are posting them to D2L so everybody can see it. You can pull it up. Your writing is out there. You've done the pre-writing. This is that brainstorming pre-writing part. But it's not so simple as just writing a list. It just kind of primes the brain and gets you thinking about where you're going next. I'm about to show you what that looks like. Once you see everything that has been posted on D2L, you can check in on certain people or maybe just your group members. There's a lot of people to look at. You don't have to read everything, but you have choices. Um, you can also share these lists specifically with your writing group if you're really stuck on how to proceed. But take a note, look through and see what does everybody have in common. This is something you really want to ask your students together to do because believe it or not, I think you've heard this before, we have more in common than we have that are different about each other. Um, and sometimes when you're looking at somebody else's list or when you're listening to someone else's list, you might get some new ideas, some things that you go, oh, I forgot. That picture of the barn that somebody else was writing about that was in their backyard made me remember the barn that we had or a place where we kept our animals or I had a horse, I had a barn, whatever it is. So you're posting your ideas to D2L. And um, normally we would do this activity that I've just asked you to do face to face. But let me show you some examples of where you're going. And we call that mentor texts. I'm going to show you the mentor texts. Now you're going to go about it by looking at a variety of websites. So the first one is going to be this one. It is George Ella Lyon's website. I'm not sure that she's practicing anymore, but she built this quite a while ago. And she's written many things, not just this website. And there you go. If you click, you can go back. I think I just clicked too far. Let's go back one. There's the home page. You can see that she addresses her work to a lot of different audiences, and she's a poet, so she's written many, many books. Okay, let's try that again. Click, click. Why am my clicker's not working very well? Maybe it's because I'm zooming. Um, Try it again. Come on. I had it a minute ago. Sorry. Let's see where it is. Okay. So I think I had the tab open here. So here we have a site where you can see her listed table of contents. You can go to the Where I'm From poem. You can see some poems that have been written by other people. Here's her original poem. I'm going to show you what it sounds like in just a minute. Read through this, spend some time exploring and looking and seeing. This poem has been done by students of all ages, from little bitty, of course, it's modified to adults. So you need to spend some time exploring this website. Then you can go in here. That's the site where it says it's the Where I'm From poem. Um, oh, this is the one I would think I was trying to show you. This is where she tells you who she is. So she has all these pages and these sites about who she is, where she came from, and some of the things that would have inspired her to write this poem. So let's back up and go back to where um, the PowerPoint is. It's right here. So that's the major website. You go to this one and it takes you to the site I just showed you here. And then I want you to listen to a video of her reciting the poem. So you would click here, and we just bought buck bed, so it looks like we've been shopping there.
Where I'm from.
And here she is. She's
I am
reciting.
from clothespins, from Clorox and carbon tetrachloride. I am from the dirt under the back porch, black, glistening. It tasted like beets. I am from the forsythia bush, the Dutch elm, whose long gone limbs I remember as if they were my own. I'm from fudge and eyeglasses, from Imogene and Alifair. I'm from the know-it-alls and the pass-it-ons, from perk up and pipe down. I'm from He restoreth my soul with the cotton ball lamb and 10 verses I can say myself. I'm from Artemis and Billy's branch, fried corn and strong coffee, from the finger my grandfather lost to the auger, the eye my father shut to keep his sight. Under my bed was a dress box, spilling old pictures, a sift of lost faces to drift beneath my dreams. I am from those moments, snapped before I budded, leaf fall from the family tree.
Using Powtoon. So that gives you an idea of what her poem is like. Um, so let's move on and you can see how you can do it. So I also want to show you that basically this slide is telling you that there's some more mentor texts, and I want you to recognize how individual they are. They all came from the same template. Um, and so there's three of them. This one on the left is written by Dr. Ravel, who is one of my colleagues and one of the professors that we have in our department. She and I went to the same writing project, and so we've done this work together for a very long time. And we also lead the National Writing Project of Northeast Texas, which is right here at our university. So she writes about her growing up in Georgia. And another slide, you get to see it closer up. This is my poem. I actually kept this. This is a page from my website when I was a middle school teacher, and I had I wrote the poem when in 2009, I think, or 2008. So that's when I was teaching middle school. Earlier than that, I hadn't written it, so I didn't have it to share with my younger students or the families. But it was on my website. Parents could see who I was. They got to know me, and I was able to share a little bit about my life, and these were part of my writer's notebooks. Remind me next time we meet, another video, I will share some of my writer's notebooks because that's really, really important. And then this one here on the right, well, this one is written by one of my students in 2019. She was a pre-service teacher, and in seminar, I asked students to write this poem. She was also from Puerto Rico. And so she infused some of her own native language words as well. So there's a lot of things. You're going to notice mine breaks away from the template, but it is inspired by the template. So let me show you some other ways that you can do this. If you click on each poem, you can hear the author recite her individual poem.
I am from sweet Georgia tea, sweet and smooth as syrup. I'm from the pine straw that blankets the naked fertile earth and the red clay. I'm from hot humid air of slow moving ladies and long suffering days in the heat. I'm from sheet cake birthdays and macaroni and 1 inch thick cheese. Judy's girl, who is Nadine's girl, who is Grace's girl, who is Lena's girl. I'm from doing the best you know how and do as I say, not as I did, because you know better and you'll know when. I'm from acting like a girl should, so one day she might be able to get married. I'm from depression ethics and family lunches, of garden grown potato soup and peeled tomatoes. From the state of Tennessee until World War II and the migration to work at the Savannah River Bomb Plant. The 4 daughters, and finally 2 boys. Between the 2 pieces of glass are the doilies for Grace Cecilia, made by Lena Elizabeth, never owned by Vivian Nadine or Judy Carroll. Now on the wall for safekeeping for Hope Elizabeth and Hannah Carroll, a straight line of girls. I am these women and sweet Georgia tea.
So this is Dr. Ravel's poem. Um, let's move on. And here is my poem. Notice it's different. Oh, you have to click on the title to get to hearing the version. I am from Wonder Bread and Rabbit Ears. A father knows best when reality hid behind the facade of blissful perfection. I am from the simplicity of our California cottage, just 2 women and a cat. The serenity of our Connecticut estate, 3 additional siblings and a dad. I am from the shield of Conrad's cover, the sanctuary of Carmona's cariño, the shelter of Hofer's halo, and the steadfastness of Fisher's foundation. I am bicoastal and bilingual, from the Giants to the Yankees. Chile bore my ancestors. Mexico raised my mother. I am the daughter of the unknown Alfredo and the beloved Russ. Empanadas, enchiladas, Saturday night steak, and paella mode. I am from the Dominican sisters nestled in the Catholic tradition, where uniforms, Oxfords, and penny loafers framed my education. I am from the sky's the limit, reach for the stars, and learn to walk among kings in a gown or in blue jeans. From this love, this faith, this courage and devotion, I am passion's child. I am the Wa. And one more, we have one more, and that's from Alabama.
I am
from el sofrito, from habichuela and adobo. I am from the humidity and the smell of fabuloso. I am from the amapola, the flamboyant, whose long gone limbs I remember as if they were my own. I'm from la parranda en el chinchorreo, from mis abuelos and mi queridos rojitas. I'm from la misa and prayer, and from Dios te bendiga. I'm from se dice usted, no tú, and treat others as you like to be treated, and la borinqueña. I'm from hard work. I'm from el pepino en los enyangotaos, mofongo and pernil, from the place that Maria tried to silence but could not, from the never-ending trips to Crash Boat, y donde el coquí siempre canta. I am from la isla del encanto.
Ah, that one is always, it's so beautiful. And so there you have it. You have some examples of some texts from others and some samples of what that poem looks like. So when we are doing a writing workshop and we're teaching writing to students, it's important to give them samples um, so that they have an idea of what good writing is, maybe an idea of what you're wanting them to achieve. And then, of course, often we write with our students. Um, Hard for me to write with you right now. We'll be talking more about mini lessons later in the course where we'll talk a little bit about that writing, but I gave you some examples of mine and I'm walking you through the process. Part of the support that you're getting, sometimes you're asked in writing workshops, or I'm sorry, I meant to say lesson planning. Well, what supports are you giving your students? Well, the template is, and the brainstorming, those are supports too, so that you're not just told, go write a poem. You have to guide them through the process. And so now it's your turn to write. So you're going to write a poem from about where you're from. To get started, use the template for inspiration. It's okay to just fill in the blanks to get started, and it's okay to be creative too. What I'm trying to say is you don't have to stick to the template, but use the kinds of prompts that they offer to help you make your poem rich and give it some substance and make it have some strong vocabulary and some different ideas. And you're going to post your first draft in the D2L discussion. So it's going to be a long discussion. You will have posted your brainstorming and you're going to post your template as well, whether you do it all in the same one or you discussion, or if you post a couple of times, that's fine. It'll all render and everybody will be able to see that. Okay. So this is the template. I posted a link to that in D2L, but just to give you an idea, here you can see it. You see the repetition. I am from, and then it asks you to think about a specific ordinary item, from a product name, from the home description and an adjective and a sensory detail. Notice when I talked about product names, I said, let's see, I think I said something about rabbit ears, Father Knows Best. That was a TV show that was prominent when I was a kid. So I could go through and tell you how every single one of those things inspired the way that I wrote my poem. When I modified my poem, write in poetry, but I liked the stanza style instead of doing it differently. I chose to have a certain sense of rhythm. I really would have liked to have rhyme, but um, instead I meant to try to have some juxtaposition in my poem because I wanted to show two different sides of me. From I had a lot of binary or polar identities going on in my life with growing up bilingual and growing up on two different coasts because I lived in California and I lived in Connecticut, I should say the opposite way. So there was some very specific intentionality, but all of that intentionality came after I just filled out the template. And that's what I want you to do is think about what's a plant and a flower, what are some family traditions? What are some descriptions of a family tendency of something a tendency is like something that is unique to your family that just happens. It's just the way that we do it in our house. Um, Something that you were told as a child, something. Now, I did that, but I put it way at the end. I didn't necessarily put it there. Something that's coming, maybe coming from a religion or a lack of religion, something to do with your birthplace, your ancestry, something about a family story or a detail. I talked about habits that were related to the food that we ate with the pie a la mode and the Fisher Saturday night steak that my father used to love to um, barbecue, family pictures and memories, and all this sort of thing. So, all of these things are meant to give you a variety of things to commemorate your upbringing. So, use the template as an aid, as a tool, and you can see where it comes from right here because I've given you a link. Okay, and then to end up, if you want to spend some more time exploring, these all came out of that one website. This stuff is all over the internet, so you can do a lot of searching if you like. Um, but only you know who you are and can write this poem. So here's some visuals. A lot of people have put these to visual presentation. I haven't yet because I need to go back and find some authentic pictures to help mine work, and I haven't had a chance to do that. But there's some more stuff for you to explore as you move forward. And that's this presentation. Let me go back into D2L just to orient you to where things are. So this whole unit is under assignment descriptions under a unit called Where I'm From. And you've got I'm going to post this video. You've got the PowerPoint and you have the template. Now, under week 4, right here, under reading tasks and assignments, one of them is specifically the Where I'm From poem. So here, if you click on this, this is what it looks like. Here's the activity where I ask you to watch the video presentation that I'm doing with you right now. And then I ask you to do the brainstorming. So I ask you to write that there. And then you're, of course, this is also where you're going to use your ideas to write your first draft. And here's the template that you can link. And then once you've posted this, then the next step for the next deadline will be to meet with your group to share what you have written, share your drafts, and give each other some feedback and talk about, well, what can I do to improve my poem? What can I do to what did you hear from each other? What did you like? I'm not going to go into a long exercise about how you peer conference because it's just too much in this one lesson. That will be other lessons, but just talk about the work that you have and give yourselves an opportunity to be heard and to let other people perhaps give you feedback on ways you might want to go. I can share when I go back to my particular poem. Let's see, where is it? I can tell you all the different ways that I went about modifying mine. See, here were Wonder Bread, Rabbit Ears, Father Knows Best. Those were things that were very specific to the era in which I grew up. Um, I grew up as a single child for many, many years, raised by a single mom. We lived in California, just me and a cat and my mom. And at that, then, but I also grew up, that was in California. And then my mother remarried and we ended up going to Connecticut. And when I had a father at that point in time. So these are the different people that have influenced my growing up. And oh, did not mean to make it jump. But then I was trying to create, I like alliteration, so I was trying to do the C's and the C's and the cover, the Conrad's cover, Carmona's Cariño. Those are some things that are very specific to my Hofer's Halo. My mother was married a couple of times, so those were the different last names that I had in my growing up. I was bi-coastal, bilingual, so I'm trying to show that through the Giants. And I was a Giants fan, baseball and Yankees fan, depending on what coast I was on, the different people that raised my family. So I wanted to bring in all the cultural backgrounds. Oh, Slay, stop that. Um, and then the food is coming in here, and then where I went to school, because The Dominican sisters were a big, huge piece of my upbringing, because I went to my fingers. I went to an all-girls Catholic school. What else did I want to bring in? What I wore. And these were the sayings my mother always said to me. Sky's the limit, reach for the stars, learn to walk among kings in a gown or in blue jeans." And then I tried to wrap it up here with what I showed had to do with my Catholic faith, the courage that my mother had to raise me at a time when being a single mom was not so common, and or was very challenging, and but the love that I had throughout my entire childhood. And then finally the nickname that I was given um, in my growing up. So there were decisions in what I did and why I chose the words and the format. And I talked about the alliteration and the juxtaposition and all of that sort of thing. That was intentional. So when you start working with your partners, think about, what am I going to do that's very intentional? Because I'm going to be looking for ways that you revise your poem from your first draft of just filling out the template to think, okay, how did I evolve as a writer, and how did my group help me? And that will be part of your final publishing, but you don't have to do that quite yet. You still have some time. Just know where you're going. And then, of course, on the 27th, I think is the date. I have to double check. That's when it's due. And you're going to actually post your very final version on, maybe with some pictures to supplement your work, on your blog post. And if you're doing a podcast, you're going to be reciting it just as we have as well. So enjoy this. It's a fun activity, and boy, oh boy, are we going to learn a lot about each other. So I'm going to sign off of this video, and I hope you have fun with this project. Thanks very much for your attention.